So first of all, my name is David Magee. I'm part of the Scorebuddy team here. I'm looking forward to this webinar today, which will cover how to embrace a strengths-based coaching within quality assurance. So before I kick off today, I just wanted to give a quick overview of the breakdown of the audience. So as we can see here, we have a good number of folks dialing in from, hopefully none of you are colorblind like I am. So I've written the percentages down. So we have just over 40% of folks dialing in from the US, which is great to see. And another 16% from the UK. But then we have a good bunch of folks in from South Africa, Ireland, Australia, and another 20% from other regions. So this is typically what we see, UK, US leading away, but this time we can see a good chunk from the US, which is great to see. And then if we look at the breakdown by industry, so our typical industries that we always see, and it's a big focus for us here at Scorebuddy, is around retail. Majority of folks dialing in from financial services, so that might be interesting for the panel to discuss that. Telecommunications leading with 12%, healthcare and technology and other industries that we see as well. So yeah, it's just nice to give a breakdown so for the panel and also for everyone else dialing in today. Okay, so moving on then to introductions. So first of all, I'll hand you off to our host today, David Magee. So David, if you want to unmute your line and you can do the introductions, please.
Great stuff, David. Thanks so much. So hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar today, titled Positive QA, How to Embrace Strengths-Based Coaching. My name is David Magee. I'm part of the new business team in Scorebuddy, an account executive. I've been with the company just over 2 years, and I am honoured to be joined by some fantastic guest speakers today. Otherwise, it would be a very short and very boring webinar. So we are joined by Dennis Eaton from Verse.ai. Dennis, we'll start with yourself, if that's okay.
Okay, thank you, David. Good morning, afternoon, and evening, everyone. I'm Dennis Eaton. I'm the Vice President of Contact Centers here at Verse.ai. Verse.ai is an amazing company, so we help our customers intelligently. Basically, we do campaigns and lead qualification, and we work campaigns for them through SMS, voice and phone, and also email. And so we support clients across, we heard we had financial services on here, retail, home builders, mortgage, real estate. We literally can help any client that offers a service or product, and we on average return a 16x return on investment to our clients. So when you get a chance after the session today, check out our website. We would be glad to do a demo for you guys and show you some of our products and solutions. Thank you, David.
No problem. Brilliant, Dennis. Thanks so much. So going from the sunny beaches of California over to Stockholm, Sweden, we have Dhelma. Dhelma, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm Dhelma Salazar. I lead the operations management team at Voi Technologies company for the past 2 years. Voi is a wonderful company based in Stockholm, Sweden, and we are primarily focused on the micromobility industry, e-scooters, e-bikes, and we're pretty much focusing on the sustainability of transportation. Prior to Voi, I have worked managing call centers for the telecommunications industry, mainly based in US, South America, and Asia for about 15 years. I'm really happy to be here to share our best practices and our current challenges as well. I'm looking forward to interacting with all of you.
Brilliant, Dhelma. Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it. And last but not least, on our own sunny coast of Ireland, joined today by Patricia Byron. Patricia, would you give us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Great, David. Thank you very much. And you can hear me okay, yeah?
Perfect.
Great. So my name is Patricia Byron. I'm an executive and team coach, and I'm based here in, as David said, based in Ireland. I focus on taking a positive psychology approach to all the stuff that I do. I'm involved in leadership, training, development, and I found that embracing strengths-based coaching has a massive impact for people on both their individually and for their teams. So I'm here today to share a little bit about that with you all, and also to tell you that being based on the southeast coast of Ireland, we are prone to every so often internet connections going down, and mine went down about 2 minutes ago. So I'm glad to be back here just now. So thank you for that, David. Thank you.
No problem at all. It's great to have you back. And Patricia, what we might do is start with yourself and go into our first topic of today, which is obviously, look, a really great one to start with. Why is strengths-based coaching? Why is it essential?
Okay, brilliant stuff. So David, if you want to go into presentation mode there, just to bring up the slides.
I'm just going to make sure that it's working okay, because I believe someone else had a problem. Is that working okay now?
Okay. I can see the slide, so it's fine. It's really, this is just for a visual for people. So we'll see what we can do. So yeah, okay. So you may not have heard, you may have heard of coaching before, but may not have come across the concept of strengths-based coaching. And there's an old saying that says, where focus goes, energy flows. So if we tend to focus on the elephant in the room, all we can ever see is an elephant in the room. But if we focus on somebody's strengths, then what we're actually seeing is we're seeing the best of them. And strengths-based coaching is a way of you identifying what somebody's strengths are. It's leveraging those strengths. It's empowering them. It's empowering them to work on those strengths. And also, it gives us a common language for when sometimes our strengths might work against us. So the next, you can see from the next slide there that the question people ask is, well, you know, there's loads of different approaches to coaching. We've heard maybe of the GROW model, or we've heard of different approaches. So why do we take a strengths-based approach? But what it does is it gives us a common language. And there is no more effective way to manage people than to give them a language which helps them understand who they are, what they are, where their strengths are. So we focus on what people bring to the table. We focus on their abilities, and we focus on how they can fit into a team. We found that organizations with a strengths-based culture engage employees more. The employees find that they have an exceptional employee experience, and this higher employee engagement just naturally runs into the whole productivity and performance end of things. So that's an idea to strengths-based coaching. Let me put it in a nutshell to you. It's very simple. When you're talking to your agents, you're focusing on what they are doing well. You're focusing on things like how adaptable they are, how good they are at communication, their determination. And that allows you to have a decent conversation with them about what they do well. And then you can have that conversation as, okay, so now how does your adaptability hold you back? How does your priorities in always focusing and always succeeding, how does that hold you back? So it's a really good way to create a common language with you and your team. We often find that, and the next slide will show you typical traits. And there's loads of different products available on the market that you can use to help somebody identify their traits. But here's one. This is VIA, character strengths. And this is a well-known questionnaire and a well-known tool that's used in coaching. VIA stands for values in action. Because what we often find is that people's strengths come out of their key values. So if my key value is around honesty, if that's one of my traits around honesty, you'll find that coming out in everything I do within my business. It focuses on being honest, being truthful, doing it right, so on and so forth. So when you use one of these questionnaires, or you just bring this language into a discussion with your team, what you're actually helping them do is you're helping them focus on your values. You're helping them align those values to the values of the business. And you're helping them focus on their talents as well. So what it also does is it means that when you're assigning tasks within your team, you know where your team's strengths are. So we start talking about a strengths fit. What I'd like to do in the next slide is just give you an example, another example of maybe when somebody has identified their key strengths, how you can have a conversation, a coaching conversation with them around that. So we have one here. This is top strength. Scorebuddy's top strength comes out as disciplined. And the individual is driven to complete what they start and likes their workflow to be structured with to-do lists and calendars. And therefore, people can rely on them, and they know that they're efficient and careful about details. So you're with your agent, you've identified one of their key strengths is disciplined. What you know is how they're going to succeed. What you find out is they can be relied on to do. But what you also can have a conversation with them about is what gets in their way. And this is where we look at then putting goals and actions into place with them. So it's what gets in their way. Okay, so it really does, if we focus on somebody's strengths, it really does help build their self-esteem, build their performance, and so on. Let me just do 2 quick slides. Let me just give you the research around this. Gallup did a meta-analysis, and they did it over 1.2 million individuals and nearly 50,000 work units. And what they saw was when the organization took a strengths-based approach, engagement went from 7 to 23%, up between 7 and 23% higher employee engagement. Performance increased somewhere between 8 and 18%. But this is the key one. Lower employee attrition rates, somewhere between 20 and 73%. So they were keeping their employees in the business because they were taking a coaching and strengths-based coaching approach. And finally, the research for the organization itself. So what's the benefit to the organization? The benefit to the organization is 9% increase in sales. They saw 29% increase in profits, 59% fewer safety incidences, and 72% lower turnover in high turnover organizations. So my call to action for all of you is to shift your language, shift your focus. Rather than focusing on what somebody's not doing well, focus on their strengths, give them the language in which they can say, oh, well, this is what I'm good at. And then have the discussion with them about what might get in their way. So if you're disciplined, why do you get frustrated when, there's things are not as flexible as they should be or not as laid out as they should be? So my call to action for all of you is identify one of your strengths, work on it. How does it help you? And then think as well, how does it hinder you? Okay, I'm going to hand over to Dhelma. Is it Dhelma we've got next?
Well, I tell you what, before we jump on to the next topic,
Great.
Patricia, I don't want to do you a disjustice. I have a question or two for you. So
Great.
you caught my attention from the very start with the focus goes, energy flows. I really love that, and it's one I'm gonna hold on to. And Rob, if you don't mind, I suppose the whole point or the whole idea for this webinar came from me being on a customer call and having been QA'd or being kind of coached in the past myself, I always saw quality assurance as a stick to kind of beat the agent with, to get a little bit more out of them, especially in a sales environment. What sales manager does want? More. So that's what I'm really interested when you were showing those percentages there at the end. And if we focus on a strength-based coaching rather than just trying to squeeze the lemon for everything we can get, seeing percentages like 29% increase in sales is a really different way of looking at it at the same situation. So I was really interested. From yourself, have you any recommendations for our listeners today of what where they could go online, or what systems they could use to go and find their own strengths?
Yeah, so there's loads of different online questionnaires. The American Psychology Society runs one. It's a VIA. We see in Europe there is Red Bull Wingfinder, and also there's a Clifton Strengths Finder. So these are questionnaires that can be used. But if you don't want to use these questionnaires, you can simply just throw up one of the slides that I gave there with a list of strengths and ask your agents, which do you think sounds a little bit like you? And that just starts the conversation off. And then what they can do is they can plot their strengths on a wheel, or they can do a SWOT analysis, what their strength is, what the opportunity to, where is the opportunity to use this strength. For example, if somebody's strength is adaptability, how can they use that? They might identify, well, when we get peak calls, unexpected peak calls coming in, I'm extremely adaptable, and this really helps me. And then you can help them identify as well, okay, so when does that hold you back? So that's different areas, but I can also provide links that you can give out to all the people who've joined us at a later stage if they want. I can provide actual links as well, David.
That's amazing. Thanks so much, Patricia. I really appreciate it. Dennis, Dhelma, I'm just going to open up to yourselves just on the same topic before we move on. Have you anything that you want to add yourselves, or any thoughts?
Yeah, I'll just
Go ahead,
go ahead.
Dennis.
You go first.
Oh, sure. Just pretty much I completely agree with Patricia that when we do focus on the strengths of the agents and our customer service operations, it definitely pays off more. And it's been proven again and again that when we focus on the strengths of the agents, more than the areas of improvement has paid off more than doing the opposite. Or also customizing it, because not every agent is the same, not every customer is the same. So customizing it to the tone of voice as well is important, because the communication way that I may use for one agent has to be different for the other, depending on their communication style. Dennis.
Yeah, and I'll just add to what Patricia was building on. What we found too, David, is it's so important with your new hires to set small, achievable goals so they get that momentum and positive feelings about themselves, which gives you more time to keep developing them, training them, enhancing their skills, and building upon that. Where with our tenured concierge or agents, it's more advanced discussions, advanced learning. They're sharing information with us about our systems and processes and how to improve. So I would just say it's really important with your new hires to really focus on those easy wins.
Brilliant. So I appreciate it. And thanks for weighing in. What we're going to do now is we're going to go to Dhelma. And Dhelma, we're going to ask you to kind of bring us into your experience and your kind of expertise on this particular topic. So we'd love to discuss the evolving language around of quality assurance in that agent development that Patricia was talking about as well. So I was wondering if you could give us a little bit of insight from your own experience on that.
Sure. So for quality assurance, the world of QA has been revolutionized by AI, as we all know it, and self-service and chatbot throughout the years, and especially recently in the past 5 years. The language that we use for QA, for tone of voice, as we call it in Scorebuddy, has changed a bit more to be a little bit more efficient, targeted. Our customers the demographics has changed as well, and you have to know the customer base that you're serving. So what generation are they in? Are they using email, phone call in a more formal way of communication? Or are they using it more on the go, multitasking, doing something else? We are a voice in the micromobility company where we are very focused more on sustainable transportation, e-bikes, e-scooters, and our customers are on the go. They don't have time to spend time, a very long time with you, with customer service operations. So we do have a very good percentage on self-service chatbot, which is very immediate, and the tone of voice with chatbot or AI is different as opposed to an agent. So when it comes to an agent, 5 years ago, it would have been different because they haven't been filtered through self-service chat, help menus and so on. Today, the way that we use for QA and the language that we use has to be more targeted to our demographics. For VoIP, for example, it's a very young demographics that we have. People use e-scooters and e-bikes, and they're usually short trips. And we have to be very efficient when we address the issues. So it's issue resolution driven. At the same time, do they value empathy and closure as they used to do in the past? Our traditional QA dictates thanking customers for contacting us. And at the end of a contact, you say, if there is anything else you want me to help you with. So that has been shaved off currently and is more focused on efficiency, issue resolution, and what the customer tone of voice is, what language are they using to communicate with us. For now, for the past 12 months, we at VoIP have been very much, and my operations team has been very much focused on customer satisfaction. So how do we improve customer satisfaction today is by quality assurance. We have to know what our agents need to improve on. What is the agent-driven customer satisfaction telling us? Are our agents causing CSAT, DSAT, or is our product causing it, CSAT or DSAT? We do rely on the Scorebuddy for monitoring and for our QA analysts to let us know, hey, what is our weaknesses? What are our agents are needing? Is it training? Is it tone of voice? Is it language? And based on that, we use that material plus our CRM reports to coach our agents. Lately, what has been working for us is to implement a very structured coaching mechanism for our agents and our call centers, where it's aligned with the Scorebuddy and aligned with our CRM reports. We do match all of that into one structured format for coaching and mentoring. And we have a control mechanism where we have to make sure every agent has at least a very well documented coaching session every month with reasonable targets. Like Dennis mentioned, it has a lot to do on the tenure of the agent as well and what their strengths are. So if I have an agent who has an excellent customer satisfaction, but a very poor average handle time, we have to target the strengths, but at the same time, how reasonable is your average handle time and how is your tone of voice, that is, what language are you using to address our customers for your average handle time to be below average. But then to Patricia's point as well, the same way that we focus on QA, on coaching our agents, we also have to use a different language for our own agents. The same way that we have to tailor our communication with our customers, we have to tailor our communications with our agents. Not everyone is the same. Some of them are very good listeners. Some of them learn by experience, hands-on experience, and some of them are more readers. So that is also important to tailor our communication when we coach our agents. I do want to highlight something that has been working very well for us is the structured coaching and mentoring program that we have. But we do have a challenge where we only have a few QA analysts, and we do monitor manually by a person 2 to 4 cases per agent per week, which in overall at the high level is only 2 to 5% of our total contacts. So there is this huge percentage of a blind spot where we don't know and it's impossible unless we invest quite a bit of money to monitor 100% of our agent-facing cases. And that is the challenge that we have today. And this is how we got in contact with you as well, David, for how can we be enabled to monitor, have more insights on all of our agent-facing contacts without having the need of a person listening to it, manually listening to all of these contacts. So our coaching can be more targeted and our results can increase as well.
Dhelma, thank you so much. And what we'll have to do is get you a free trial of Scorebuddy's new AI evaluator. We'll make sure we'll set that up for you. It's a great tool we're bringing to the market at the moment, and that can allow up to tens of thousands of evaluations every day. So I'll have to have a word with somebody on the management team to get you a trial complimentary. I appreciate that. And look, just going back to what you said, I've found it very interesting when you were talking about the coaching sessions and you took into consideration the tenure of the agent. But I kind of want to cross over a point that you made about your clients. You talked about kind of the different generations and the different approaches that you would take with clients of different generations. Do you take that same approach with, like, would you have kind of different generations on your own team, or would everyone kind of fall into a similar age bracket, or what's it like where you're working?
Yeah, it is the same. We do have quite a diverse, not only age but also demographically. We have team members in different countries, and the culture is a key point even for mentoring and coaching. When you want to develop a team member, an agent, the way they receive, for example, in our South Asia call center, it could be very hierarchical. So we have to coach our team leads and supervisors to soften it up more on the punishing piece and about if you don't do this, X, Y, and Z, this is the consequence, as opposed to mentoring and encouraging. So it has to do a lot with culture as well. If it's a hierarchical culture, to soften it up and adjust the language in a more mentoring than holding them accountable for metrics. And finding the root cause is a key point as well. Whenever you see no one, I would want to believe that no one just goes to work with a plan to fail. You want to succeed and you want to be the best at what you do. And there is a root cause for something. So if your CSAT, if your average handle time, if any KPI that you're tracking is not up to expectations, there is a root cause. Is it training? Is it environment? Is it maybe the way your team is working with you, the way you're being coached, or maybe some people are very much more lenient to positive reinforcement, and the criticism could demoralize them quite a bit. So, or it could be schedules. Is it your shift? Is it the time of the day? Are you a morning person or an evening person? So it's more about finding the root cause as well, not only just adjusting the language, but finding the root cause of what's causing our agents not to perform to expectations.
Brilliant, I appreciate it. So I'm going to open this next question to Dennis and Patricia. As someone who is dealing with customers myself, and talking about quality assurance on a regular basis, I've even found in the last 2 years that language has changed from, just customers interested in just knowing general sentiment. And now we're talking about sentiment evolution and being really granular with the information and details that we're looking to extract from our interactions with our clients. And I'm just wondering, from your experiences, and maybe Dennis, we'll start with yourself. From your experience, what other language changes are you noticing in kind of in coaching, in agent development, and kind of what we're looking at from the client interactions that you have?
Yeah, it's interesting. The dynamics change within contact centers. 15, 20 years ago, everything was over the phone. But we found at Verse.ai, we have significant success in text and SMS messaging with leads and qualifying them. And so we're very fortunate. Our development team and scripting team builds out customized scripts that our clients partner with us with to build out the questions and all the information they want us to capture to qualify that lead for them. And so our AI or our humans concierge will use that script and that flow to gather that information, package it up, and then we integrate with their CRM and send that information over to them. So basically, instead of their sales team spending their day, trying to qualify leads and qualify people, we do all of that on the day and night for them. They come in the morning to start their job, and they basically have appointments that are scheduled and set up for them with qualified folks. Our team, it's a little dynamic and complex in that we support over 200 clients across 15 different industries. So when I supported, when I worked at companies like ADP, Oracle, Nike, we were focused on the retail questions, the billing questions, the payroll questions. But at Verse, our agents have to support 15 different industries. So it's really important that we focus on their strengths and their coaching, and we leverage David Scorebuddy significantly to go through those interactions, capture that information, and make that transparent to our agents to use that.
Brilliant. It's great to hear. Appreciate it, Dennis. And Patricia, outside of the contact center world, you've been doing coaching for you have a vast experience for a long time. You must have seen, even in the last few years, in the language changing, even with the clients coming to you.
Yeah. I really think it's a PC, and it's, when we talk about something being PC, I talk about it being pre-COVID and post-COVID. It's simple as that. It's not about being PC anymore. It's being pre-COVID and post-COVID. What we're finding is that the way of working and coming away from what was the traditional workplace, where you had other support systems around you and you had other colleagues who were in the same support center as you that you could bounce off, and that doesn't exist anymore. Because for some people, maybe not in the call center world, but certainly I do a lot of work with financial services or with in academia and that type of thing. People are now working from home, and it's the isolation is becoming harder for them. And this is why it's so important that they get the support of their managers and their teams around them, and that their self-esteem is built up. It's not around what I'm doing wrong. It's about what can I do that's right. So I'm finding now that even the language in the way in which we communicate with our teams is changing. The stick doesn't work anymore. It has to be the carrot. The stick is not working. It has to be the carrot. It has to be, let's focus on what you do well. Remember as well that generationally, our employees are changing. So we're getting, the millennials are in the workplace. Their focus is different. What their expectations are different. So definitely things are changing, and we're expecting more from our supervisors, our team leaders, and our managers. We're expecting a different approach, and we're getting it. We're getting it, but we need to support both the team managers and the team leaders, and also in your case, in the call center environment, support the agents to know what's a common language in our organization, what's a common language in the culture in that we work in, and allow them, give them the safety to use that language. And coaching does that. Coaching definitely does that, because it shifts the thinking. It gets people thinking in a different way.
Yeah, it really does. I love the PC. Again, I'm going to rub that on you. Appreciate it. Dennis, we're going to come to yourself. And look, you are working at Verse.ai. AI is in the company name. I want to understand a little bit more about how you are shifting from kind of maybe traditional metrics and evaluation methods. But I suppose AI is the hot topic right now, for everybody. I just want to understand how you're kind of bringing that into what you do on a daily basis, and how you're using that to, I suppose, improve your efficiencies, especially when it comes to coaching.
Yeah, absolutely. So when we look at AI, I mean, even, I've been with Verse, I'm going into my third year. We have advanced so much in the past few years in that we now handle, David, over 85% of the interactions that come to the contact center are handled through Alex Parker, which is the name of our AI here at Verse. So Alex is handling 85%. The other 15% is handled by our concierge or agents. And those are more complex discussions, rescheduling of appointments, questions that we haven't built the AI quite yet to answer. So the humans will engage and support that. But we do package up those questions and information and give it back to our development team so they can learn from that and coach and develop the AI so that in the future, we can continue to evolutionize that and have the AI, Alex Parker, handle those questions. So there's a closed loop process there. We have set up Alex Parker in Scorebuddy as a human. So if you think about AI, the end goal is to get your AI to be as humanistic as possible, right? And to save the labor costs and all those things there. So Alex is set up in Scorebuddy as a human. We provide coaching feedback analytics around Alex's engagements. We give that to our development team because they're his manager or her manager. And they change the code, enhance the code, and make it even smarter to handle those items that Alex improves upon. The one thing we have done, and Patricia, you might find this interesting, is we flip the tables on our agents as far as coaching. So we used to come to a coaching session and we'd have their scorecard, we'd have Scorebuddy up, we'd have all this information to help them, and we'd focus on their strengths. We flipped it and we have the agent come to the coaching and share with us their performance. So what are you doing well in? What do you need my help with? What are some areas you would like some refresher training on? So the reason we did that is we're finding that the agents wouldn't really be as prepared for their coaching as we were. So by them having to present to us, as all of us have to do, you have to prepare for a presentation. They come to their coaching session prepared to present their performance to us, and then we build and engage upon that with them. So I'm curious, Patricia, what your thoughts are on that approach.
So I really think when it comes to coaching, even every approach that I take in coaching is coachee led. So it goes away. This is the whole point. It goes away from the carrot and the stick. In the past, we used to bring this metrics and go, here's what gone wrong. Now, explain yourself. Now what we're saying to people is come to us with, even to my own coaches, I'm saying, come to me with your challenges. Let me dance in your world rather than you having to dance in mine. So it's around us seeing it from their perspective. It frightens me that 85% of the engagement is now by AI. But what I did notice is you mentioned that 15% is dealt with the agents on the more complex issues. Mm-hmm. And this is why coaching and strengths-based coaching is so important, because what the agents are dealing with is becoming more complex, it's becoming more difficult, it's becoming more demanding. And they need to know where their strengths are and to be able to say, do you know what, actually, one of my strengths is not diplomacy. I'm actually going to hand you over to my colleague. Like, they wouldn't say that to a client, but they know themselves, really, and I'm going to hand you over to my client. But definitely from a coaching perspective, Dennis, and to answer your question, from a coaching perspective, encouraging the coachee to come with what's gone well, what's been their challenges, where they see their wins. That's a much more beneficial conversation than what we have seen in the past.
Yeah, and something to add to that, Joel, who is over our engineering and development team, had an amazing idea for our company. He reached out to me and said, "Hey, Dennis, I want some of my developers to handle the contact center interactions and use the tools that they've developed and coded." And so we put them out there front line, supporting the clients, handling the inbound interactions. And they learned so much, actually using the tools they're developing, seeing how Alex Parker is interacting with our client base. And they took that back to the drawing table and said, okay, we've got to enhance this, we've got to change this and do this. So we're continuing to do that of having our development team be on that front line of our contact center as well.
And as I have to say, I loved the flipping the agent coaching session, and I'm not encouraging my manager to do the same for me, because I like the way he currently does it, but I think it's a great idea. And I was just wondering, without putting you on the spot, but do you have any kind of metrics that have improved that you could share with us from doing that?
Yeah, absolutely. So for the first time, actually in 2 years, we had every one of our agents was above 85% in quality. So that is a huge achievement. So we noticed about a 15% lift from putting the accountability in the hands of the agent and coming prepared to their coaching sessions. But we're achieving 90+% in our overall team quality now in handling our interactions for our clients. So that's pretty high from a
Yeah.
benchmark perspective.
It's fantastic. And look, I suppose a question for you as well. Like Dhelma made a point earlier on, and I welcome all three of you to come in on this particular question. Of a lot of companies that come to Scorebuddy initially would be currently doing evaluations of maybe 1, 2, 1%, 2%, up to 5% of their total client interactions. And what we're seeing now in trends in the industry is the introduction of AI evaluators and being able to boost those numbers, like I mentioned earlier on, by tens of thousands of evaluations done every day. And I suppose the question for the three of you is, how do we envisage this will impact coaching when agents are starting to be evaluated by AI evaluators rather than supervisors or QA analysts? And what advice could we maybe give to people that are on today's webinar, they're listening, who may be a bit unnerved by that kind of trend? So I'll throw that out there.
I'll go first. So one of the big values, David, we see with Scorebuddy is that Scorebuddy allows our quality specialists to put their name behind the rating and the score that they give to the agent. So that's built some trust between our agents and our QA specialists, in that I saw that Dennis scored me this way, and here's Dennis's comments about how I handled that and his input on how I could do better. Where before you might just get a score from quality and you don't know who gave you that score, you don't know who it is. In our company, they know who the person is, and that person putting their name on there has to make sure that their rating and score is very accurate because their name's on it. With AI, I think what's going to be important, David, is that the AI is very accurate in the scoring. If the agents lose any confidence in that scoring, it'll be, well, the AI is wrong, I'm not going to pay attention to that, I'm going to keep doing it the way I was doing it. So I think it's going to be important to build that confidence in the AI and the accuracy. I'll hand it over to Patricia or Dhelma to add to that.
Okay.
Patricia, go ahead.
Well, so sorry, from my perspective, and coaching has used metrics for a long time. We've used things like psychometrics, where we're getting a measure of people's personality, we're getting a measure of their emotional intelligence, we're getting a measure, getting measurements have always been used in coaching. And if AI is producing metrics around how an agent has performed, and we bring that to coaching, I think that's invaluable because it builds self-awareness. The key thing that I would say, and I'm saying this not from Dennis's speciality or Dhelma's speciality, I'm saying it from my experience and speciality and expertise as a coach, is that it's just important, again, it's around the language that we use when we then discuss those metrics. I think metrics are fantastic to bring awareness, to help give measurable, this is what we're talking about, and that's fantastic. But as a coach, you need to understand the language that you use, and again, you focus on the strengths, you keep it in the positive. That's my contribution to that discussion. I say yes, AI all the way, and we've used it in the past in different ways, metrics in different ways, but it's the responsibility of the coach to ensure that the language they use when discussing these metrics is positive and focuses on strengths.
And just to add to that as well, I think for us, we're craving and we're very hungry for more data to improve in a more efficient way. And a heat map of words, for example, how do we know how our agents are performing whenever they get a payment issue compared to a product issue, or compared to an agent not knowing the processes and procedures to address the issue, or sometimes could be self-service as well, that is not resolving the issue as expected. But keyword mapping, heat map on keywords will be a key point for us to identify and even coach an agent. And I think it will also improve the confidence level for agents to know, okay, every time I get payment keywords or an upset comment from a customer, my performance drops, because that's something I'm not prepared to do. And the coaching session could be also on that area, is that you're very good at payments. Every time you get a payment request, you really resolve the issues in a successful way. However, when someone complains about your tone of voice, or they are asking for a supervisor or a manager, then that's the area that we can coach on. But data is important. At the moment, like I mentioned, is 2 to 4 cases per agent per week. It is very small. It's a small number to coach on to make a grander impact in the operations world.
Yeah, great points. Sorry, Dennis, did you want to come in?
I was just going to add to Dhelma too. So we have a QA team that does about 10 interactions a week for the concierge. But David, super excited about some of the work that Scorebuddy is doing, and the ability for us to be able to run 100% of our interactions through an AI initial QA, like Dhelma said, would just be amazing. We would love to have that and have the words and the heat map and everything there.
Yeah, and to the point you're both making, I'd be very much of the opinion that the more data you can have, and if we're letting the AI carry out those evaluations, one, it gives us an idea where to dedicate our resources in terms of, time. So can I spend more time coaching rather than just doing evaluations? Let the AI, carry out and do that. And in the other side of resources is the money that we're spending towards training sessions. So the more data that we have, the more idea of what the customer is actually saying to us, we'll be able to be more targeted and specific. So, going forward, we're not just doing a training course just for the sake of it. We really know that we need a bit of help and to dedicate time and money on this particular issue, so that going forward we can improve the customer's experience, increase CSAT. We know that there's a great kind of a revenue increase that goes along with those increases as well. So yeah, it's a really good point, really interesting. We are coming towards the end of the webinar. So I just wanted to ask you, the three of you, just real quickly before we go to questions, any top tips around coaching that you'd like to share, just to round off the call? And if we, Patricia, if we start with yourself, maybe a top tip that you can share before we finish up for today.
So for me, from a perspective of being a coach, I would say listen more than talk. Just keep listening, ask good questions, and never ask your agent why. Don't ask them, why is this happening? Why are you doing that? Because why requires them to justify. Instead, just change your wording slightly. So there's my top tip.
Lovely. Thank you for that. Dhelma, we go to yourself.
Sure, my top tip would be dedicating more time on finding the root cause. Root cause before jumping into coaching, find the root cause. What is actually the reason why that particular agent needs improvement in any KPI?
Okay, brilliant. Thank you. And Dennis, last but not least.
Sure. One thing we try to do is connect with our agents or concierge. So we like to talk to them about what you do this weekend, how's your family, try to make sure we know things about their hobbies, their interests. Patricia, you talked earlier about their values. So we try to key in on those things when we interact with them. We find that then opens up the conversation. So as we go through the strength-based discussions, and then we get into what are maybe the more challenging conversations, and the areas of opportunity, they're more open to self-reflect and share with us what they really need to work on.
Excellent. Thank you so much to the three of you. I really appreciate the time, the expertise, and everything that you've dedicated for this webinar. So I really appreciate it. I'm going to see, yes, David's back with us. David, just go to you, see if there's any questions
Yeah,
while we
great
still.
discussion so far. Look, I'm really enjoying it. Hard to believe we're nearly over already. We've actually lots of questions in, so we'll try and get as many answered as possible. First one is from Helen. I won't say where she works, but so this is a question. I'll open her up to the panel and please jump in. So with my team, sometimes I need to give feedback on a particular piece of legal advice or understanding that they're lacking and need to improve. It's not necessarily a result of strength getting in the way. It's more particular their understanding of the conversation. So they just want some guide around what's your recommended way to approach that. So it's more their knowledge rather than so what's your kind of I'll leave that open to anyone. How would they approach that? Or do you want me to repeat the question?
No, I think I'm understanding it from my perspective where there's a gap. So I call it the PEG model, where somebody is that we know what their performance should be and we know what our expectations are, but it's the gap. So it's focusing on that gap. If it's knowledge, it's focusing on the knowledge, but it's asking them, it's openly asking them questions. How do they feel it went? Where do they, again, feelings, thinking, what are they comfortable with? So, and then rather than saying, the old fashioned feedback sandwich, tell them something nice, then tell them what went wrong, tell them something nice again, look at where's there's opportunity for development. So using the language, again, it's all back to the language that we use. Rather than focusing on what went wrong, focus on here's an opportunity to develop that interaction further. So here's the opportunity rather than this is what you missed. So that's what my tip.
Great. Okay, we have a few more, so I'm going to jump on to the next one. So this is from, I'm going to butcher the name, Melitza. I hope that's how you pronounce the name. If there is a big team of CSMs, customer success managers, to be coached and only very few trainers or coaches, should the priority be just the good performers or the poor performers, or what is the right balance? As of now, they focus more on the good performers to get them, to coach them. So what's the guidance there? What's the right balance if you have big team, few coaches, but you have some poor performers, good performers? What's the right balance?
If I may, whenever we have a large number of agents, that is a big challenge, and low support staff. So I would definitely go by a data point, run as much data as possible, either through Scorebuddy, monitoring, AI, and see where the weaknesses are. And if we are not capable of coaching them on a one-to-one basis, do a group training based on strengths and areas of improvement. Instead of coaching on a one-to-one basis, you can coach 10 agents that are having difficulties with a certain issue type. At the same time, I think it's also important to pair them with a mentor. So having a mentoring program has helped a lot in the past for us. Whenever we didn't have enough team leads or enough time to afford for coaching, individual coaching, implementing a mentoring program definitely works. It's good for the top performing employee to increase their leadership skills, and it's also good for the bottom performing employee to learn best practices.
That's really solid advice, Dhelma. Thanks very much. Next question is from Mohammed, and this is for Patricia. He said at the very start, how can we uncover agent strengths from the QA side, especially in a remote environment? Because checking their interactions with customers does not feel like the best way for this. It kind of leans towards management, I believe.
I would say checking an agent's strengths is not around, it's not about how they're currently interacting, but maybe what they know about themselves. So where when they're interacting with people, where do they feel that they're at their best? When do they feel they're at their best? Are they at their best when suddenly there's an influx of unexpected calls and they can deal with it? Well, then we can identify that maybe they're one of their strengths is being adaptable. Or when are they at their best? Maybe they're really good engagement with somebody. They're chatty. They can engage quickly with somebody. They enjoy solving problems. Maybe their strength there is the strength of diplomacy. So they've got good social skills. So again, it's talking to them. If the metrics or the feedback don't tell you what their strengths are, just have a conversation with them as to where do they feel their strengths lie? When are they happy doing what they do? And then you can very quickly hone in on them. Does that, and hopefully that answers the question.
Great, Patricia. The questions are still floating in here, so I'm going to take two more because we're just at the end of time there. So next one is from Holly. The word coaching has poor connotation. While using replaceable language like learning opportunities or mentoring is helpful, it's hard to reduce the anxiety around these meetings. What's the best way to create a safe space for these discussions in strengths-based coaching? Is there a way to do this while addressing a specific issue? Who wants to take that one?
If I can jump in myself, even from a starting point, and maybe kind of tee up Dennis on this, like Dennis, you mentioned earlier on that you kind of start off with how's everything at home, how was your weekend? You're kind of having that personal approach, and kind of it sounded like straight away that you're calming and making a kind of a friendly and nice, welcoming environment. Is that the case? Did I take you up the right way?
Yeah, absolutely. I think not jumping right into the metrics and the KPIs and having that personal conversation and finding out how they're doing in their life. You know, how's your dog? How's the weather? Whatever it may be, your favorite sports team. If they recently went to a concert, we have a lot of employees that love Taylor Swift and they've been going to Taylor Swift concerts. So of course I bring that up, right? It's a great topic. But then going into the discussion around the performance and people really do, Patricia, you talked about this. People want feedback. They want to know how they're doing. They want to know where they can improve. And when you recognize their improvements, it makes them feel really good. But you have to you have to be uncomfortable with that conversation yourself as a leader. And you have to go there with that person to make them better.
Great. Thanks for that, Dennis. Okay, so we'll take one more. I'm going to randomly pick one here. Okay, this is from Elaine. Okay, so how would you recommend balancing strengths-based coaching while touching on those points that they do need to improve? I found in the past that there is no motivator to change bad habits. They just don't change. So who wants to address that question?
I can address it. So for us, for anyone leading a team, whether it's a manager or a team lead, they do need to understand what the skill is that you're trying to coach, or what the area of improvement is. Is it a skill issue or is it a will issue? The skill issue is very coachable, mentorable. If it's a will issue, if it comes from the agent behavior, that is something that a leader or a manager needs to decide whether this is an area that is the person in the right environment. Is he a software developer instead of an agent, instead of assisting a customer? So we need to look at it from a different angle at that point, because if they are willing to stay in that environment, are they enjoying their job? Are they working to their strengths? I think I would look at it from that perspective, as opposed to, I would choose between, is it a skill, if it's will, and go from there.
Great, thanks, Dhelma. And we're just out of time, so I'm going to just wrap up now quickly. Patricia, Dhelma, Dennis, thanks so much for participating in the panel. Really solid discussion, and we can see from the questions that have come in, really topical webinar that we've run, so we may look to run another one with a different angle. Also to my colleague David Magee, thanks very much for hosting the panel discussion. It was really solid, so we could have went on for another 30 minutes, I'm sure, with the discussion and the questions. So and also to everyone that's registered and attended today, The webinar has been recorded. You'll receive a copy of that tomorrow. Thanks for your questions. And there's a short survey as you leave today. So looking forward to seeing everyone on the next one. So have a great rest of the day. Thanks a lot. Take care.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Cheers.
Thank you.